Walters is a great place to watch the World Cup with unlimited TVs, a self-pour beer wall, and it's open late. Walters is located across the street from Nationals Park.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Here is the set and the pitch. Swinging a little looper, left center field, gonna fall on a base hit. Vivas has scored. Nuñez to the plate. The throw is offline, not in time, and into second goes Jose Tena. It's a single to left center and 2 runs batted in, and 4 runs home for the Nationals here in the bottom of the 4th inning. It's Washington 5 and Philadelphia nothing.
Garcia at second, the tying run. Cruz at first, the lead run. Here's the set. No sign of the bunt. A swing and a drive. Center field deep. Way back it goes. To the wall. It's gone! I don't believe it! A 3-run home run for Jorbit Vivas. The Nationals are back in front. Improbably. The Nationals 8. The Phillies 6. On Jorbit Vivas' second home run this season. Over the center field wall. No balls and a strike to Marsh. The set, the kick, and the delivery. Swinging a drive, deep right field. Oh no! It is gone off the facing of the second deck. And the Phillies answer back. Marsh homers. The game is tied at 8. Now the set and the pitch. Swinging a line drive, right field. That's going to fall for a hit. Sosa will score. Over to third goes Crawford. And Trey Turner with an RBI single. It's 14-8.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. I'm joined by Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He is at Nationals Park. Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. That goes down as quite the day in Washington, D.C. sports. The Washington Wizards, they on Tuesday night took A.J. Dabanza of BYU with the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft. The Washington Capitals, they on Tuesday evening announced a major trade in which they acquired St. Louis Blues forward Jordan Kyrou. And the Washington Nationals, they on Tuesday evening played quite the game. A 14-9 loss to the Philadelphia Phillies at Nationals Park on Tuesday evening in Game 2 of a 4-game series. This was a game in which the Nats blew a 5-3 8th-inning lead, overcame a 6-5 8th-inning deficit, and blew an 8-6 9th-inning lead by allowing 8 runs in the top of the 9th. This game was bonkers. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 41-39 with a run differential of +10. The Phillies now are 43-36 with a run differential of -2. The Nats are 2.5 games behind the Phillies for the National League's second of 3 wildcard spots. Good to have you with us. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by the Golf Yards in Arlington. Escape the DMV summer heat at the area's premier 24/7 indoor golf performance center. Tours now available. Visit thegolfyards.com to view the schedule and save up to $1,500 with waived initiation fees. So I mentioned Tuesday being June 23rd, 2026. Are you aware of the significance of that date? Tuesday was the 15-year anniversary of Jim Riggleman's shocking resignation as Nats manager.
Mike, who I respect greatly, just basically said, no, I'm not ready to do that. And so I said, well, then I'm not going to be going on that trip to Chicago.
Also, Tuesday was the 5-year anniversary of another crazy game between the Nats and Phillies. Perhaps you remember this. June 23rd, 2021, a 13-12 Nats win at the Phillies in a game that lasted for 4 hours and 19 minutes. The game featured the Nats and Phillies combining for 25 runs, 27 hits, and 14 walks. The two teams combined to use 14 pitchers. The game, the first regular season game in MLB history in which each team hit a grand slam and a 3-run homer. The Nats scored 11 runs over the 5th and 6th innings. Well, the Nats and Phillies on June 23rd, 2026 also played a crazy game. And on Jim Riggleman Day, Mark, do you think that Jim Riggleman somehow, some way was taking in what happened on Tuesday evening between the Nats and Phillies?
If he was, Al, I'm not sure his mind could comprehend everything that happened just in the 8th and 9th innings alone. I mean, let's keep this in mind here. This was a low-scoring, fast-paced ball game for much of the night, and then it completely flipped, I would say, from the 8th inning on with just wild swings of emotion. And it'll be fascinating when this season is over and we go back and say, okay, what were the worst losses of the year? I think the San Francisco loss, we would have said there's no way they could top that one. That's going to have to be the worst. And it may still be, but this one sure stings in a different kind of way because this one meant something. The crowd was totally into it, 29,000 plus, and it felt energetic and it was lively throughout, and especially in those late innings. They are one strike away from beating the Phillies the first 2 games of this series, moving to within a half a game of them in the wild card race. This would have been a big win for them. That one in San Francisco, that was like the cherry on top. You're trying to sweep the series. This was an important game and what would have been a huge win for them. And instead, it's not just that they blew it. They allowed 10 straight batters to reach base with 2 outs in the 9th. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. To then lose like that, lose ground in the standings. And as Blake Butera said afterwards, he is fascinated to see how they respond to this.
About as frustrating of a loss as we've seen, as I've ever been a part of, and in front of a great crowd against this team that we know is a huge series. At the end of the day, I'm curious to see how we bounce back, and I'm curious to see how we respond to this.
I think we all are. How will they do both on Wednesday and then beyond that?
Well, we saw the Nats respond very well to that walk-off loss at the Giants. I would be surprised if the Nats do not respond well to this loss. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? When you have a horrible bullpen, you are going to have some losses like this. I mean, we saw this in 2017, we saw this in 2019, and we are seeing this in 2026. Nats teams with really good offenses, but really bad bullpens, you will have losses like what we had in this game on Tuesday evening. Yeah, I mean, this bullpen is rough, and for any improvement that we have noticed in recent weeks, you get a game like this and it pretty much like eradicates whatever improvement you might have noticed as time went on. So the Nats in this game used 8 pitchers. That's another item from this game. So many guys ended up being used, and we still have 2 games to go in this series, and the Nats don't have another scheduled off day until a week from Thursday. 6 pitchers were used beyond opener PJ Poulin and bulkman Zack Littell. So Mitchell Parker, he officially allowed 1 run in 1 1/3 innings. He in the top of the 7th was charged with a run off sandwiching 2 singles around and out. Orlando Revolta officially tossed a perfect inning. He faced 3 batters and got 3 outs. Richard Lovelady officially allowed 3 runs in 1/3 of an inning. He and what ended up being a 3-run 8th for the Phillies faced 4 batters but got just 1 out as he gave up a 1-out double, issued a 2-out walk, and then issued a 2-out hit by pitch. Clayton Beeter, he officially tossed a 1/3 of a scoreless inning, but that is rather misleading. He came into the game in the top of the 8th with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and the Nats up 5-3. Beeter, to the first batter he faced, gave up a 2-out full count opposite field 3-run double by JT Realmuto for a 6-5 Phillies lead. Right fielder James Wood nearly made a diving catch for the 3rd out.
The runners go, the pitch on the way. Swinging a line drive right field. Wood chasing. He dives. It's off his glove. He doesn't have it. 2-run score. The ball skirts away, and the Phillies will take the lead as the 3rd run scores.
What would have been a game-saving catch in a lot of ways, but the ball came out of the glove of Wood, and then Wood bobbled the ball in trying to retrieve it.
It was in his glove, and then it wasn't.
This ended up being a rough defensive inning for Wood because he earlier in the inning committed a fielding error on a wet-out double by Brandon Marsh off the warning track in right center field. This was not the best game for James Wood. He is the Nats starting right fielder, number 1 batter, 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. Then we had what happened with Brad Lord, who, of course, had been so good, but he officially allowed 6 runs in 2/3 of an inning in a nightmare of an outing. And the irony of the whole thing, he in the top of the 9th struck out each of the Phillies' first 2 batters. Brad Lord is rolling. And then he allowed each of the Phillies' next 6 batters to reach base. Gave up a 2-out single by ex-Nat Trey Turner to left center. A 2-out 2-run homer by Brandon Marsh to right field to tie the game at 8. a 2-out single by ex-Nat Bryce Harper to right field, a 2-out single by pinch hitter Derek Hill to left field, and a 2-out first pitch 3-run homer by Bryson Stott to right field for an 11-8 Phillies lead. And then Lord issued a walk, a 2-out 5-pitch walk of JT Realmuto. And then we had Paxton Schultz. He officially allowed 2 runs in a third of an inning, faced 5 batters, but got just 1 out as he gave up a 2-out 2-run double by Edmundo Sosa off the top of the outfield wall in center field for a 13-8 Phillies lead, and gave up a 2-out opposite field RBI single by Trey Turner to right field on an 0-2 pitch for a 14-8 Phillies lead. The Nats late night on Tuesday night did announce having optioned Paxton Schultz to Triple-A Rochester. But this was some woeful performance by this bullpen. And that 9th inning, a combined 51 pitches by Brad Lord and Paxton Schultz, and those 2 guys combining to allow 8 runs. And again, the irony is that Lord struck out each of the Phillies' first 2 batters. I can't get over what happened after that. Just remarkable.
And had 2 strikes on Trey Turner. He's literally 1 strike away, nobody on base. Crowd's roaring, you're thinking this is over. And even when he gives up the single, you're like, oh, it's not the end of the world. You know, he can still come through. I mean, there are few guys, if any, and I understand this is not a good bullpen, but Brad Lord probably, I feel like, has earned the trust of everyone as much, if not more, than anybody else that they have. Now, it was a different role than he's used to. A save situation in the 9th. There's a question there of, could Butera have just left Clayton Beeter in? He threw 9 pitches in the 8th. And yes, he officially gave up the 3-run double, but that was not a sharp double from Realmuto. It's a little blooper to right field, end of the bat, the 3-2 count opposite field, and James Wood almost makes the play. I asked Butera about any thought to putting Beeter back out there, and he said, yeah, they did. But he also knew that he had pitched the night before.
There was, knowing that he threw yesterday and also knowing what Lordy's done for us this year and how confident we are in him.
They're worried about what might be coming ahead the rest of this series. And ultimately, he felt good about Brad Lord. And I think everybody, you can question that decision to pull Beeter, but if you're going to do it, Brad Lord's the guy I would want out there instead. And he didn't have it. He did not have the put away pitch to end it. And we've talked about, you've brought this up a number of times, how this bullpen keeps giving up home runs. It is at a staggering rate. And for even Lord now to be a part of that, giving up 2 of them in this game, it's just wild how many home runs they have given up, and just killer home runs way more often than not.
Yeah, and, Clayton Beeter has done some good things, but, he's not 1990 Bobby Thigpen. Okay, to pull him makes total sense. And to your point, we love Brad Lord. He's been so good. I had total faith in him, and that it unraveled like that was like, wow, I didn't know that was within Brad Lord this season with how well he had been doing. So your updated Nationals relief pitching stats for this 2026 regular season include an ERA of 4.93, a WHIP of 1.44, 58 home runs allowed, by far the worst such total in MLB. And the Nats in this game get credited with 2 blown saves, one for Beeter and one for Lord. It is not often that a team has more blown saves than actual saves. The Nats are not at that point, but they are getting to that point. 24 for 46 now are the Nats officially on saves. The bullpen's a weakness. We know that. This is not new, but man, this was a rough outing for this team from a relief pitching standpoint. And as we discussed, it will be interesting to see not only how the Nats respond to this, but from a bullpen availability standpoint, who's available? What can Blake Butera realistically do with 2 more games to go in this series against the Phillies team that, as we know, can make for prolonged games, high-scoring games, back-and-forth games?
Yeah, so I think that's why, win or lose, they were going to have to make a move at the end of this night because they're just going to need a fresh arm for Wednesday. So, Schultz is the last man on the depth chart and obviously did not do anything to help his cause in this game, but I think they probably would have had to do it regardless. And I found this really fascinating as Blake Butera is talking about the environment in the ballpark. He described it felt like a playoff game.
Yeah, it felt like a playoff atmosphere, in my opinion, and we treated this game as such.
I don't think he's necessarily wrong with that. And he even said that they were managing this game with being really aggressive with their bullpen and the way they use the pitchers treating it like a bigger game than he might normally treat any individual game. And I asked him if that's something that he kind of, as the game was playing out, decided to do, or was that coming into the game? And he said this was the plan coming into the series.
We're coming into the series feeling that way.
Blake Butera has circled this series from the get-go. And I know he's careful, and everybody's careful not to try to make too big a deal out of it. But it should be pretty obvious now that they were going all in to try to win not just this game, but they are going to try to go all in to win as many games as they can in this series. He understands this is an important one. He threw every bullet he had in this game. Now, it didn't work, and it'll be fascinating to see what that leaves them with for Wednesday and Thursday. But he was all in to try to win this game, and I think that in part explains why Brad Lord was pitching the ninth, because I actually was thinking to myself as that game's playing out, hey, Lord's your best pitcher. Why hasn't he come in here at any point? And I'm thinking, well, he's probably saving him for Wednesday. Maybe he's the guy who has to follow Miles Mikolas. Well, no, in the end, he was the guy that pitched the ninth inning in a save situation because they said, we'll figure out tomorrow. We're going all in to try to win this game.
You know, you got to think for game 3 of this series, the hope may well be to have maybe an opener in PJ Poulin and then Mikolas, and hope that Mikolas just eats a bunch of innings, as we have seen him do here lately. Like, he is capable of doing that. But I wonder to what extent they're going to have to ride Mikolas on Wednesday evening with what happened with the bullpen in this game.
We talk a lot on Nats Chat about the front office's major shift towards advanced data, using biomechanics, StatCast metrics, and predictive modeling to drive daily lineups and long-term player development. If you want to see real, measurable results, you could do the exact same thing for your golf game by joining the Golf Yards. Located right here in Arlington, the Golf Yards is the DMV's premier 24/7 indoor golf performance center. It is officially summer in the DMV, which means the heavy heat and humidity are back, but it is always perfectly cool inside the Golf Yards. We are opening soon and bringing a tour-level, data-driven approach straight to your swing. Even better, tours are now available so you can come see the space for yourself. You can find the full tour schedule available right now on our website. While we gear up for opening, we are running a massive limited time offer, completely waived initiation fees. That is an immediate savings of $1,000 off a single membership and $1,500 off a family membership. Beat the heat and lock in your data-driven edge. Head over to thegolfyards.com to check out the tour schedule and claim your waived initiation fee today.
What is that?
Oh, yeah, it's a World Cup holder.
Like the soccer tournament World Cup?
Holder. For the world. Fits every car, holds every cup.
It has a Carvana logo?
Yeah, Carvana made it. They buy and sell cars, so they made a car cup holder. So, got any good cups lately?
I used to, I just couldn't figure out where in the world to put them.
The World Cup holder, brought to you by Carvana, proud sponsors of the World Cup holder.
Sign up today to win yours at cup-holder2026.com. Not authorized or endorsed by FIFA. Not a real product. For parity and fair use purposes only.
See if he can deliver in the clutch. Here's the set. And the pitch. Swing and a ground ball fair. Past the diving Bohm. Down the left field line. Chaparro scores. Cruz around third. He scores. Into third with a slide and no play is Vivas. And Nasim Nuñez has done it again. He's come through with a clutch. 2-out, 2-run single. 15 hits in his last 27 times up in a 9-game hitting streak. It's the Nationals 3 and the Phillies nothing.
So Poulin was the opener in this game, and he again did well in that role. A perfect top of the first. Your PJ Poulin updated opener stats here. 10 starts, ERA 2.03, whip 0.98. And then starting pitcher Zack Littell came into the game to serve as an Nats bulk man. 2 runs in 4 innings, 5 strikeouts, no walks. Did give up 5 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 3 singles. But he threw a lot of strikes, 59 pitches, 42 strikes, just 17 balls. The homer came in the top of the 5th. A 2-out first pitch, 2-run homer by Edmundo Sosa to left center to cut the Nats lead to 5-2. Littell was not lights out, but he certainly was better than he was in his previous outing. The Nats 6-2 loss to the Kansas City Royals at Nationals Park last Wednesday afternoon, June 17th. Littell in that game, 4 runs in 5 innings, gave up 4 home runs. Did give up another homer in this game, 2 runs in 4 innings, 5 strikeouts, no walks. I thought overall Littell did pretty well.
Yeah, I agreed. He was cruising there at one point. He had 4 straight strikeouts. This is not a guy that we think of as swing and miss. He's trying to get weak contact. So I think the stuff in the command was actually really good, and he just got burned by one bad pitch in the 5th inning on the 2-run homer by Sosa. And as we know, kind of like the bullpen too, this is the one Achilles heel for him. He gives up runs on one swing instead of sustained rally of any kind. And they could have kept him in after that. But again, this was a very aggressive approach that Butera took, and he went to Mitchell Parker in the 6th because the big lefties were due up, and Parker did fine in that inning. There is a domino effect of all this, though. When you use an opener, when you purposely pull a starter who's been effective after only 4 innings because you want to just play the matchups as best as you can the rest of the way, it may work, and it very nearly worked for them to pull this one out. But there is a domino effect of what that means for Wednesday's game, and we'll see. That could come back to bite them.
I do wonder if they are entertaining pushing the openers a little more and maybe routinely asking for more than an inning. I mean, usually it has been 1 inning. Occasionally we've seen 2. I wonder if we do start to see, especially with Poulin doing so well, if we maybe see him go 2 innings more regularly than we have seen.
You only consider that if there are more lefties coming up. You're not just going to leave them in to face righties, I don't think. But the other part of this equation, this is exactly what I think we're going to experience on Wednesday. When you have Littell and Mikolas lined up back-to-back in your rotation, they haven't announced it yet, but I assume they're coming back with Poulin again on Wednesday. You can't have them throw 2 innings on Tuesday and then open again on Wednesday. I just don't think they would do that to him. So it's almost like you have to go into it planning, okay, he's going to face the lefties, go 1 inning, hopefully it goes well, and then we're going to bring him back and do it again the next day. And this is why it's not ideal to have these 2 guys pitching back-to-back days, Littell and Mikolas, and that's a product of Cade Cavalli's food poisoning. But they're kind of stuck like this at least until their next off day after the series in Boston next week, and maybe stuck until the All-Star break. I'm sure they will reconfigure the rotation order after that because it's really not ideal for them to have these 2 guys pitching back-to-back. And yet another reason that I'm fascinated to see what happens Wednesday, because this was out of their control. They couldn't help it that Cavalli had to be scratched over the weekend in Tampa. But the result of that is you have your 2 guys who you don't generally trust to go deep, and you do use an opener for now pitching back-to-back days.
I mean, Poulin has been better against lefties. He hasn't been horrible against righties. I don't know. I mean, to me, if they wanted to try it, I don't think it would be crazy to try it, but it's not really something they seem...
Would you bring him back the next day, though?
No. But like, if you didn't have Cade Cavalli having food poisoning and you didn't have this circumstance of these guys being back to back, just this basic idea of, how many different relievers do you want to be using per game? If you're going to go with the opener strategy and you like what Poulin's doing, why not see if he can go 2 innings? I don't think it's nuts.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine if the circumstances are a little different. And yeah, I agree. He's done fine against righties, but I think really what I think this boils down to is them saying, we would use him to face those hitters in the lineup later in the game. Let's just use him in the 1st inning and try to limit the number of times that a Littell or a Mikolas has to face them.
Well, a shame of this 14-9 loss to the Phillies at Nationals Park on Tuesday evening was that the Nats, again, were good offensively. 9 runs, 9 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 6 singles. 4 walks, 4 for 11 with runners in scoring position, 3 for 3 on stolen bases. But adding to the absurdity of this game was this. The Nats scored 9 runs despite striking out a whopping 17 times. The Philly starting pitcher was former Nats prospect Jesus Luzardo, and he had one of the more bizarre final lines that you'll ever see a starting pitcher have. Luzardo allowed 5 runs in 6 2/3 innings, but he had 13 strikeouts versus 3 walks. I mean, makes sense of that. 5 runs, 6 2/3 innings, 13 strikeouts versus 3 walks. Another absurd item from this game. Jorbit Vivas, a clutch home run. He is the Nats starting second baseman and number 5 batter, 2 for 3 with a 3-run homer, a single, and a walk. Vivas in the Nats 3-run 8th, a 3-run homer to right center field for an 8-6 Nats lead, 410 feet per StatCast. But it's not just that it was Vivas homering. It's that he homered immediately off having tried to bunt in the plate appearance. He showed bunt, fouled it off, and then homered. I mean, you talk about this game being wacko. That Vivas sequence captured the game in a nutshell.
That was going to be the moment of the season. If they hang on to win, the unlikely guy, batting fifth, by the way, because CJ Abrams was scratched shortly before game time with a sore left side. He hurt himself throwing during batting practice while taking grounders in the field. It doesn't sound like anything serious, but he might miss another game, by the way. And it would be unfortunate, although the lineup was perfectly fine without him. But now all of a sudden, Vivas is your number 5 hitter. You get the first 2 batters on in the 8th after you've just given up the lead. And so the idea is, well, let's get them both in the scoring position. So let's lay down the bunt. He fouls it off. And then the very next pitch hits the home run. And I asked him afterwards, are you actually glad in the end that you fouled it off? And he smiled. And I think, while in the moment he wasn't proud of himself for not being able to get the bunt down, it did allow him to redeem himself in a huge way. This is not a power hitter that we're talking about. I think it was only his 3rd major league home run of his career. And it was like this just shot off the bat, and the crowd went nuts. And like I said, this to me was going to be like the moment of the year to date. The Jorbit Vivas 3-run go-ahead homer in the bottom of the 8th. And instead, it's a very unfortunate footnote to a game that wound up getting just crazy after that.
Yeah, it was. There were so many moments that you look back on and you almost forget about them because of everything that ended up happening in the game. So you mentioned CJ Abrams getting scratched. The Phillies scratched Kyle Schwarber. So each team was down one of its best batters. Schwarber was to be the Phillies starting DH, and number 2 batter got scratched due to lower back tightness. Al Galdi here to tell you about Window Nation's Buy 4, Get 4 free sale. But before that, the Window Nation look into the future.
1-1 pitch, swinging a line drive deep to left field. Gentry's going back. He'll make the... No, it goes over his head and out of here. He reached up like he thought he had a chance to catch it. Maybe he was shading his eyes. It was a line drive that skimmed over the fence for a 3-run homer. 5-1 Red Wings. A bullet to left field from Cedar King.
Window Nation has a great offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast, the Buy 4, Get 4 free sale, during which you could replace all of your home's windows and get half of them for free. Plus, you can get your windows with no money down and no payments or interest for 2 years. The sale ends soon, so call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com now to book a consultation. 866-99-WINDOW-NATION or windownation.com to book a consultation, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
If your business runs on 5 different apps, 12 browser tabs, and 1 spreadsheet that everyone's afraid to touch, it's probably time for Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that connects every part of your business into one powerful, easy-to-use platform. So instead of wasting time switching between disconnected systems, your entire business works together in real time. Your team moves faster, your data stays accurate, and you can actually focus on growing your business. Let one unified system run your entire business. From the first opportunity to the final payment, everything works together in one place. Whether you're a small business or managing a large operation, Odoo gives you one flexible platform built to grow with you. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Here's the set, the 1-2. Swinging a fly ball, center field deep. Moving back on this one, Crawford to the warning track, leaps at the wall. He can't get it, it's gone. Into the red seats in the first row, a home run for Luis Garcia Jr. That'll make the score 14-9 Phillies. As Garcia homers again, his second of the series, his 12th of the year.
The Nats' other home run in this game came from Luis Garcia Jr. He and the Nats 1-run ninth, a pinch, 2-out, opposite field solo homer to left center on a 1-2 pitch to cut the Nats deficit to 14-9. The power surge for Garcia continues. His slugging percentage now up to .484. Nasim Nuñez, another impactful game. He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 7 batter, 1 for 3 with a 2-run single and a walk. And he went 2 for 2 on stolen bases. Now is 31 for 34 on stolen bases, but that 2-run single came in the Nats' 4-run fourth, a 2-out, bases loaded first pitch, 2-run single to left for a 3-0 Nats lead. Andy had a stolen base. The Nats in that bottom of the fourth scored 4 runs on 4 singles and a walk. Nuñez now for this month of June, an OPS of 977. And you noted this regarding the Nats record in terms of the time of the team being in D.C. for stolen bases here. Nuñez has a shot to break that mark.
Yeah, he had a second one in this game. He's up to 31, and this was game 80 of the season, game 74 for him. CJ Abrams has the club record set just a few years ago of 47. Obviously, Nuñez is well ahead of that pace at this point, and if he continues to get on base, we know how often he runs and how successful he is. 50 is certainly not out of the question, and maybe even 60. If he continues to be their everyday second baseman and produce the way that he has started to produce, he's going to be in position to just shatter that record when it's all said and done. He just continues to impress with his improvement. We know defensively how great he is. We know how good he is base running wise. And every time you think to yourself, well, he's just not going to hit enough at this level to really make it, he goes on one of these tears. And I've said it, before in the several years since they used the Rule 5 pick on him, he is probably the most improved player I've ever seen covering this team from what he was when they first got him in the Rule 5, where they just stashed him away on the bench, to now being an everyday player and hitting not just doing enough offensively. He's doing more than enough offensively now, at least over the last several weeks. It's been such a pleasure to see that all come together from him. He has become such a weapon for them in so many different ways.
Yeah, we brought this up on a recent installment of the podcast, but if you go by Baseball Reference wins above replacement for this season, Nats position players, James Wood, as of games through Monday, James Wood, number 1, 3.4, CJ Abrams, number 2, 3.0, Nasim Nuñez, number 3, 1.7. Like, he has been, per that metric, the Nats' third most valuable position player here. Says so much about the contributions that he's putting forth. Now, the franchise record for stolen bases in a regular season is 97 by the immortal Ron LaFleur of your 1980 Montreal Expos. The Expos, if you look at their stats from back in the day, and I'm sure our friend Ben Raby could tell us all about this, so many guys so prolific in the stolen base department. But specific to the Nats, yes, Nuñez has a shot at breaking that single season mark.
It's remarkable to me that the franchise stolen base record is not owned by Tim Raines, one of the greatest base stealers of all time, that it's actually Ron LaFleur, who would have been teammates with Tim Raines at that time. But yeah, a little different game now than it was back then. But in today's game, even with the bigger bases and the new rules, to have a shot at 50, I think is remarkable for a guy who, as we said, up until recent weeks, it's not like he was getting on base that much, but every time he does get on, he's taking full advantage of it and turning walks and singles into doubles. He steals third with regularity. It is such a weapon for them when he just gets himself on base.
So game 3 for the Nats against the Phillies at Nationals Park, Wednesday evening at 6:45. The Nats have listed Miles Mikolas as their probable starting pitcher. And as we discussed, we'll just have to wait and see what the pitching plan ends up being. We had a relatively sane game in game 1 of this series. Tuesday evening was more along the lines, though, of what you tend to expect when the Nats play the Phillies, and especially in this season with each team, what it's doing offensively. Who knows what we get over the course of the rest of this series. 2 more games to go. Mikolas in game 3, Cade Cavalli in game 4. But yeah, I don't think anyone would be stunned if what we saw on Tuesday evening, we saw something similar at some point again in this series. Maybe not as crazy as Tuesday evening, but who knows when these two teams get together here.
As hard as this one was to stomach, like I said, the environment was fantastic. And this is the second of 4 series over the season between these two teams. So they're going to face again later this summer, both in Philadelphia and then back here in D.C. in September. Those could be some really fun series. And I know everyone, wishes that this one had ended up as a win and they didn't have to suffer the loss the way they did. But I feel like this is setting up to be a really intense and really compelling head-to-head matchup all year long, where those games in September, when they come back here again, could be pretty meaningful for both teams. It would be just really fun to see that because, as we've discussed, it's just not a position that these two teams have been in at the same time before. To really experience what that would be like in a September pennant race with these two teams, I would look forward to that myself.
I think it'd be really cool. And, specific to whatever anger people may be feeling off this loss on Tuesday evening, I get it. But at the same time, I find it hard to be that upset at any individual game outcome for this Nats team this season with how well this team is doing, because nobody ever thought this team would be in this position to begin with. So, of course, in the moment, you don't like seeing what you see. But when you take a step back and you examine where this team is at, the fact that this is such a big series from a standing standpoint for this team, raise your hand if you anticipated that. And so I almost feel like there is a feeling of, okay, it's not good that they lost, but I think it's easier to stomach when you take a look at the bigger picture of the season.
I agree with you 100%, but I also can understand why somebody would look at this and say, man, if they just had even anything remotely resembling an average bullpen, they'd be in great shape right now. They would be firmly in wild card position, if not ahead of the Phillies and maybe in the number one spot there. And so I get that. But I think we also have to remember, what was the organizational mindset coming into the year? It was not win now. It just wasn't. You can agree or disagree with that, but this was a new front office coming in, wanting to see what they had and letting that sort of dictate what their timeline for contention would be. The way the team has played, that maybe has changed the timeline, and they've got another 5 weeks or so before the trade deadline to kind of firmly decide, are they in 2026 or not? That in itself is pretty remarkable that that's been the case. But for anybody who's why didn't they just go sign some more prominent relievers in the offseason? I don't think that would have sounded all that wise at the time, given what you expected this team to be. So the real test of Paul Taboni and the rest of the organization, can they do what Mike Rizzo actually was pretty successful at doing over the years and fix a bullpen in season to turn what's an obvious weakness into at least something that's not going to kill you, and maybe even ideally into a strength as they head to the stretch run?
Yeah, and also spending money on relievers would have guaranteed nothing with this bullpen. Look around MLB. Spending money on free agent relievers doesn't assure you anything in terms of upgrading your bullpen. It's the trickiest aspect of a team to address, the bullpen. It's so bizarre. It's so fickle. And that's always kind of been the hope here, is that maybe the fickle nature of the relief pitcher will lend itself to this bullpen almost magically getting better. Maybe we do see improvement as the season goes on. And for a while there, it felt like we were seeing that improvement, but hard to feel that way now off what happened on Tuesday evening. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by the Golf Yards in Arlington. Escape the DMV summer heat at the area's premier 24/7 indoor golf performance center. Tours now available. Visit thegolfyards.com to view the schedule and save up to $1,500 with waived initiation fees. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. Don't forget, we have a website. You can check out natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. Thank you for listening. And happy Jim Riggleman Day. Jim, this episode was for you. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
With the first pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Washington Wizards select Anise Debonsa Jr. from Brigham Young University.